Hello everybody, it's Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. I'm going to read the final chapter of the book, Gang-Stalking and Mind Control, the Destruction of Society Through Community Spying Networks. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. I appreciate it. Helps the channel grow, get the message out there. Feel free to share. Welcome newcomers. My name is Lorraine. I moved from Manalapan, New Jersey, in a home I lived in for 30 years as original owner. Became targeted there. Yeah, this is what happens when you're a single woman. And the Manalapan Police Department get jealous and envious, so they attack, literally, the single women that live in the neighborhood. Yeah, they want to steal their homes and stuff and then set them up for crimes and move in rat snitches to move next to them to create false flags and stuff like that, so they can create more incident reports that are falsified, etc., etc. But this is happening around the country. It's actually happening around the world. It's not new to me. The majority of people placed on the watch list are women. Approximately 72% are women, usually over the age of 40 and 50, which is bizarre, right? But this is what happens when you're all little weenies. They want to go after people who are older, who are independent, who are successful, and now they're getting even worse. And it's not that men are not on the list, they're on the list also. A lot of single men, divorced men, a lot of children are being placed on the list now also. So this is a very serious matter, folks. Turning into a rat snitch society. In this book, Gang-Stalking and Mind Control, the Destruction of Society Through Community Spying Networks by A.K.Forward. It is a secret underground that lurks throughout society, a sophisticated network of secret policing units that are cropping up in every community. It is made up of people from all walks of life who are operating as a fascist, secret police force against all freedom-loving citizens of the Western world. They pretend to be serving a good cause, but they're creating terror in our neighborhoods and destroying lives, one person at a time. This secret network is not only used for targeting individuals with systemic harassment, but those within it are often involved in sexual exploitation, blackmail, Satanism, and mind control. And I'm going to show you, folks, what these losers do while you're sleeping with their little energy weapons. They can go through the wall. They could go through your clothing, and they can slice your body. And I'm going to show you. This is my right upper arm. See, folks. Look at that. Happens while I'm sleeping. It's amazing. It's not the first time, though. I woke up in Manalapan, New Jersey once with scratches all over my back. And no, it wasn't from any kind of hot sex. I wasn't sleeping with anyone. But yeah, I woke up with scratches all over my back. X's. I woke up with an X on my stomach once also, because these are Satanists. They're sick, depraved lunatics, and all of these people should be incarcerated. Actually, they should be banished from society. They do not fit into society. So I'm going to read the last chapter here, folks, and it's entitled Turning the Tables. Oh, by the way, these criminals, they're the zombies. They're the gang stalkers. They want to control your mind and steal your soul. Because they don't have one. They want what you got. Everybody is a creature of habit. This means that those people who are targeting people through gang stalking and mind control techniques and technologies, while being reliant on the target's habitual responses to stimuli, are also equally prone to responding to things out of habit. To put this another way, they're prone to followed, patterned actions, and this is just as much a weakness in them as it is in a target or anyone else. The benefit is understanding this is that the target, who is aware of the gang stalking or mind control that they're being subjected to, can use this to fight back. Patterns are the key. Habits and routines are patterns, and the gang stalker or mind controller is reliant on knowing a target's habits and routines in order to establish a ground base of controllable situations in regards to that particular target. Unless a target is being constantly and unceasingly controlled in their very thoughts and actions through some sort of technological means, they have the opportunity to learn about the perpetrator's own habits and routines and find a way to use them to fight back. That's like recording them and posting their atrocious behaviors online, or writing to the Attorney General with evidence of their harassment and stalking. And evidence means videos, photos. To learn the perpetrator's habits and routines, the target needs to watch for patterns in the perpetrator's methods of operation, like throwing trash 3 times in 1 week. It's all a projection, folks. They throw trash on my driveway, it's because they're trash. That's right. They have out of control dogs because they're out of control. Dog isn't out of control on his own. Has everything to do with the owner. Once a target has clearly established some of the patterns of their antagonists, they can begin to turn the control around. It probably won't be enough to liberate the target completely, but it will allow them to learn some things about their assailants and the extent of their abilities, which will give the target the ability to forestall some methods being used and throw off the assailants to some extent. This effectively gives the target certain power over their antagonists, and in reading this, the target has the opportunity to stop playing into their hands, to compose themselves mentally and emotionally, and to begin approaching the situation with a cunning determination to defeat the efforts of their assailants. In order to do this, the target needs to pay attention to their own patterns and recognize their assailants' own pattern responses to them. For instance, if the target realizes that every time that they've had their routine morning shower, the telephone will ring, causing them to habitually jump out of the shower and answer the phone just to hear a dial tone, then they have discovered a pattern. Once this is realized, they are then in a position to disrupt the assailant's little game and to turn it around. There are a number of things that might be done to achieve this. First, the target could choose to simply ignore the telephone at that time and remain in the shower. Second, the target could break his or her usual routine and continually change the time of the day that they have their shower and see if the calls still occur while showering. Third, the target has the psychological strength to withstand the possible repercussions. They could set up an answering machine that will give a taunting message to their assailants that will hopefully drive them to anger in the hopes that this will cause them to make a mistake. Other possibilities exist besides these, and in every situation is different for every target. So a little consideration of what the assailant's main objective might be will offer some ideas as to how to disrupt their activities. Oh yeah, one of the things that I've done before is, I can be really pissed off at the street theater and stuff, but sometimes I'll just wave to them and smile. In the above scenario, the assailants will be informing the target through their own responses that they are watching or at least listening to the target, and this means that they're probably using ordinary surveillance equipment, cameras and microphones. In more sophisticated operations, they may be using advanced technology such as through-the-wall surveillance. The only other possibility is that they are remote viewing the target, which requires an individual to spend some time and effort psychically focusing on the target each time this occurs, which is not very likely but is quite possible. I don't know, folks. What do you think that about your neighbors? Do you think that they have the ability to remotely view you? Let's assume that the controllers are using ordinary surveillance technologies to watch and listen in on the target. In this case, there's a very likely chance that these techniques can be located and removed. Purchasing an electromagnetic field EMF detector will give the target the ability to sweep their home and other locations, including themselves, to find any electronic devices that are transmitting a signal. Any devices that are found should be removed and either destroyed or handed over to a trustworthy third party for safekeeping. A lawyer would be a great person. Another such possible scenario in which the target can turn it around and begin to control the actions of the assailants is suppose the target knows that someone is stationed in the suite above their own, and that whoever it is involved in monitoring the target at particular times of the day or night. The target can begin to play cat and mouse with the monitor, finding pretexts for knocking on the door to the suite and causing general disruption to the monitor's activities, at the same time leaving a clear message of their knowledge of the monitor's presence and activities. Since these people are sometimes interested in getting involved in the life of the target on a personal level as possible, the target might even tempt the upstairs monitor into a false friendship, just for the sake of getting useful information on them, which can then be used against them and their accomplices. It's all fair in love and war, after all. The target should not feel that it's wrong to do to these people what they are doing to the target. As long as these fascist assholes, it really does say that in the book, as long as these fascist assholes are willing to trample our fundamental rights and act out immoral and unethical practices, a person has the necessary right to fight back with equivalent means and force. You hear that, folks? One good turn deserves another. What goes around comes around. An important question that a target needs to ask themselves and find an answer is to whether a particular person who is involved with the gang-stalking group is involved knowingly or unknowingly. Knowing this will help the target to begin to understand the circumstances of their own situation much better, and this will allow them to deal with it in the best possible manner. It wouldn't be good to begin doing to an assailant what is being done to the target if the assailant isn't even aware of their participation in the gang-stalking operation. They may be unwittingly manipulated themselves through mind control, so it's very important to establish the level of conscious participation that a particular assailant is involved in a target's abuse. It should also be understood that whoever is behind the mind control and gang-stalking operations, they usually rely on the efforts of people to do the monitoring of the targets and operate the technologies being used against them. They seem to be employing otherwise ordinary people for many of the tasks required in their operations, and ordinary people are not usually very well trained in covert tactics and the use of psychology. In fact, many of the people being used in these operations are probably not very intelligent at all and are very gullible and easily intimidated, which is how they often get caught up in these activities in the first place. This is to the target's advantage, since his gullibility and timidity can be played on by the target, causing problems that will make these people slip up. With enough effort, a target might cause continual problems for their gang stalkers and force them to work harder or even back off. A target must acquire a very thick skin if they're going to begin fighting back. Unless the assailants are using advanced mind control technologies such as directed energy weapons that affect the target's body and mind, it might be safe to make a game of the situation and be willing to up the ante to a point where the people directly acting against the target, such as low-level monitors or street theater participants, become uncomfortable with what they're doing. The assailants will look for anything that upsets their target. So the target should pretend very realistically and over the long term that certain things that their assailants are instigating are far more or far less upsetting to the target than they really are. The target will know that they're succeeding when these sort of events begin to occur more and more often or more intensely. This will draw some of the perpetrators further out of the shadows and become more daring if they think that they're actually succeeding or not succeeding in upsetting the target. This also gives the target the ability to test their own suspicions about whether they're really being targeted or not. Showing no fear seems to agitate the assailants, and challenging low-level lackeys can easily cause them problems, confusing them in their efforts. Oh, the poor babies. Of course, it's not a good idea to challenge them directly face-to-face, but if, for instance, the target knows that they are hidden microphones in their home or workplace, they might take the opportunity to send their low-level monitors vocal messages that will agitate them or lead them on and make them want to react. But in doing so, they will reveal their involvement. A target who is keenly aware of the signals that people give off when they are thinking one thing and pretending another will be able to discern if their counter tactics are effective or not when they see them face to face. And if they are, the target is in a position to push the envelope further in whatever way they can to come up with to rock the boat harder and harder. And as I said, these people are only human and will react as humans tend to do when they're provoked to anger. Doing the unexpected can also throw them off. Suddenly doing things outside of the normal habit or routine will upset the assailant's efforts if they rely on these routines and their methods of targeting a person. For instance, if the target usually leaves for work every morning at the same time and is gone all day, then it might be worthwhile to see what happens if they come back 10 minutes after having left. It's important to follow instinct and do whatever can be done to shake up the efforts of the gang stalkers. Something that has been pointed out by other gang stalking target is that because these gang stalkers are hired by people who do not want themselves or these activities to be publicly exposed, the gang stalkers they hire are in many cases required to sign non-disclosure agreements. When they're first recruited, and this means that they will probably avoid discussing the subject of gang stalking at all. This gives the target an advantage, at least if the target knows who any of their assailants are and can engage them in friendly conversation. This is possible, then the target can better determine if a perpetrator person is unwittingly involved in these activities. By approaching the suspected gang stalker in a friendly manner and bringing up the subject in some way, the target should be able to gauge whether the suspect's language actually be involved or not. A suspected gang stalker who doesn't attempt to avoid any discussion of the subject may not be involved, but a suspect who avoids discussion is a very possibly involved and worried about breaking their contact with their handlers. If this is the case, this person can be counter-targeted by the targeted through pressure until the person begins to slip and say things they weren't supposed to. It's pulled out of the game, quote-unquote, by their handlers or quit under pressure. If nothing else, Doing this or anything else to let your gang stalkers know that you're very aware and remaining level-headed and unfestered about what they're doing may cause them to back off. At least until they can figure out better tactics than they have been using. This, of course, may just draw more intense activities from them in the end. But if you have the strength and intelligence to face it and continue to fight back, you may eventually learn through and earn enough about these people to discover who is responsible for having them target you and expose them and their involvement publicly. They don't want this at all. Oh, I already know who one of the people is. It's a county lawyer. Yeah, the county lawyer brings everybody into his office and has them sign these agreements. Gives them a little bonus. Yeah. He falsifies FOIA request information. Yep, he's definitely one of them. One of the criminals. And you know it's bad when an attorney is a handler for the sheriff's department. Targets of mind control techniques and technologies need to understand that although this is a problem of potentially global magnitude and that anyone at all might be targeted, it's nonetheless an invisible crime. And apart from the targets themselves, most of the population is divided between those who are completely unaware of it going on and those who do, but because they are wittingly involved or afraid of becoming targeted themselves, they pretend it doesn't exist. For this reason, it will do little help to the targeted person by telling others about the abuse early on. Before substantial evidence can be gathered, even if that's possible. Well, I know so many people that have enough evidence to expose their criminal stalkers, including myself. It must be understood what could easily happen if these gang stalking and mind control crimes were known about and accepted as a reality by the public at large without providing evidence of the fact. If this were the case, anyone who was troubled with their thoughts, who had a problem with their tyrannical neighbor, or whatever problem they might have, might be tempted to lay the blame on a false cause. This would not help those problems that are caused by mind control techniques and technologies, and by extension, it would only hurt the people further who are really being targeted. This has been part of the plan. It covers up the real problem and lets it grow and take root, while those who are victims of it tend to support the illusion of a society with a growing number of delusional characters who possess an increasing threat to our peace and security, and for this reason more draconian steps are seen to be necessary and willingly accepted by the ignorant masses. Well, that's the end of the book. That's the end of the chapter. Page 96. Gang-Stalking and Mind Control. The Destruction of Society Through Community Spying Networks by A.K.Forward. I hope you enjoyed hearing this book read out loud. I will be reading other books. There was one that I started. I'll read a little bit more of it. I mean, obviously, it's very time consuming. It takes up a lot of time. Like right now, we're up to 24 minutes. And some of the others were 40 and 50 and even an hour long. It takes a good chunk out of my day. And of course, there's the uploading, waiting for it to upload, on YouTube, and then having to edit my description and stuff like that. But I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to your questions and comments. And this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading signing off for now.